Facts Verse presents 23 years after a hospital worker vanished, police discovered DNA that could crack the case. Melanie Hall was a young, bright girl. The 25-year-old graduated from the University of Bath with a degree in sociology and psychology. According to her mother, Pat, completing college was her daughter's dream, and she was thrilled when she finished. After graduating, she moved home to live with her family. Melanie's family says that her life was really coming together. She had a great job as a clerical officer at the Royal United Hospital in Bath, New York. She was also preparing to move out of her family home and move to a new house that her father decorated. She was also dating a man named Philip Karlbaum, who was a doctor at the hospital where she worked. Things were going really well for Melanie. One Saturday, Melanie made plans to stay at Philip's house in Bath before a night out with him and their coworkers. According to Pat, Melanie wasn't big into the party scene, but she was looking forward to a couple of fun days with her boyfriend and some friends. Pat dropped Melanie off at Philip's house and said that her daughter was excited about the plans that had been made. She never expected it to be the last time she would ever see her daughter. Pat says the events that took place early in the day on June 9, 1996 were not out of the ordinary. Melanie was 15 minutes late, as usual. She borrowed a pair of tights, she lost a shoe, and finally packed her belongings into an overnight bag. She let her mother know when she was ready so that she could get a ride to Philip's home. When Melanie got to Philip's house, they went to a cookout with two other couples. Later, Melanie and Philip, along with another couple, went to a nightclub called Cadillacs. At some point during the evening, Melanie and Philip argued, and it's believed that Philip left the club. Shortly after the group believed that Philip left, the other couple that Melanie was at the club with said their goodbyes and left soon after Philip did. The couple says that the last time they saw Melanie was at 1:10 a.m. June 9th. They say that she was sitting on a chair outside the nightclub. The next morning, when Melanie didn't show up for work, her mother called the police. In the weeks that followed after Melanie's disappearance, her loved ones opened up about their heartache. Philip was one of them. While Melanie's loved ones were making pleas to the public to help look for the young woman, the police were searching the river in Bath, New York. They were also interviewing thousands of witnesses. The family managed to raise $12,000 to offer as a reward in exchange for any information regarding Melanie's whereabouts. 9 days after Melanie went missing, her older sister, Dominique, issued a heart-wrenching appeal to the public. She wanted to ask anyone who was at the club that night to speak to the police. Any little bit of information would be helpful. Dominique asked the public to please call with any information they had. The years passed, though, and there was no sign of Melanie, and the police had exhausted all of their leads. Her parents didn't want people to forget about the case, so they spoke to the media about her from time to time. In 2004, she was declared legally dead. In 2008, her father spoke to the Bath Chronicle saying that it will never be over, they will miss her forever. In October 2009, a worker was near a highway about 20 miles north of where Melanie had disappeared. They found a sack of human bones. 2 days later, using Melanie's dental records, they confirmed the remains were hers. The detective on the case, Detective Superintendent Mike Courtier, says that her remains were dumped many years ago and that they were determined to catch Melanie's killer. When her remains were identified, her loved ones' worst fears were confirmed. They wanted to know what happened to Melanie that night. In October 2019, 20 years had passed since Melanie had disappeared. Over the years, the police took over 1,600 statements and received over 1,700 calls from the public. They arrested 11 people during the investigation, but nobody was ever formally charged. Something else significant happened in October of 2019. 23 years after this hospital worker vanished, the police lifted DNA from a section of blue rope that was used to tie the bags that contained her remains. Unfortunately, the DNA evidence is still in its embryonic stage. Because DNA technology is always advancing, though, there is hope that there will come a time that the DNA can be adequately analyzed. After the DNA discovery was announced, the police received over 50 tips that they are still going through. Melanie's parents are hoping that soon her killer will be caught and brought to justice. Subscribe for more.